quitting, working your wage, the great reset, and now quiet firing. We're investigating these workplace trends making the rounds on social media and what workers and bosses both need to know. In a survey just out from Bank of America, 71% of American workers said their pay isn't keeping up with the cost of living. Also, fewer than half said they feel well off financially. That is the lowest for that benchmark in 5 years. But some workers are latching on to a silent protest of sorts. By now, you've probably heard the phrase quiet quitting, catching on across social media. It's when a worker is doing the bare minimum at one's job, never going above and beyond, just doing enough to collect their paycheck. So we investigated quiet quitting, the factors that brought us to this moment, and the changing meaning of work in our lives.
I shouldn't be expected to do more than my job.
We need to emphasize a work-life balance.
It's about not letting yourself being taken advantage of by a job that doesn't value you as an actual person.
Quiet quitting isn't about doing a bad job, it's about the decision to draw boundaries and respect yourself.
I've been doing the bare minimum at this job since mid-2021 because COVID burnt me out.
I work my wage because at the end of the day, I'm just a number to them.
When we asked about quiet quitting on Facebook, it was clear the catchphrase strikes a nerve.
You know, hashtag quiet quitting, and it's got whatever 80 million views, and it's really catchy. But I think you have to peer deeper.
Tucson attorney Mark Lambert says what you'll find is the Great Resignation has morphed into the Great Reset, a reassessment, and it's not new.
And back 2,500 years ago, literally, and they discussed at that time the golden mean. How do you find the middle in life between work and outside of work?
But this time it was brought on by, you guessed it, the pandemic, which gave workers time to reevaluate.
It's rare in life you get an opportunity to kind of get off the treadmill. People are off on their own and don't feel the love, don't feel the connectivity. And because the labor market is so hot, where there's so many jobs available, they know they have choices.
Lambert says in Arizona, quiet quitting is not protected behavior. Companies still have every right to fire someone who is not performing. The question is, with 2 jobs available for every worker looking, can they afford to? So some employers are fighting back using surveillance software, especially for workers at home. They can do things like count keystrokes or take screenshots, and that has sparked a new TikTok trend of using these little mouse jigglers. They ever so slightly keep the cursor moving, counting as a keystroke even when a worker's long gone. That lack of trust isn't healing any workplace wounds, quite the opposite.
That destroys something at such a deep level that it's hard to repair.
Dr. Jayne Gardner works with employers, and right now there's a lot to work on.
It's on you, bosses, to get your people involved with you and to reach out and make them feel like they're a real person with you.
A key word from experts is engagement, and it starts at the top. It's much harder for workers to disengage when the boss stays actively and positively involved.
Many times an employee is ready to give that help. They're just never asked. So ask them and get them involved.
She says bosses should be specific and generous with praise and know something about their employees. If yours isn't, Dr. Jayne says quiet quitting is not the answer. Look for a job you're passionate about, and then you can actually quit. If you can't leave right now, do your best to pinpoint what attracted you to the job in the first place and talk to your boss about refocusing, keeping in mind that not all the responsibility lies with the employer.
Quiet quitting means you're not communicating. So you're probably not going to get what you want either way. Get out there and at least try something.
In other words, be louder, not quieter.
COVID has changed a lot. It's changed the power dynamic. Employees have more power now. They're trying to give a message. And I think employers ought to hear that we're not being heard. We're not feeling valuable nor significant to you, and we will move on.
For all the talk of quiet quitting, a new catchphrase is now making the rounds: quiet firing. Workers beginning to share stories of retaliation as bosses leave seemingly quiet quitting workers out of important discussions or assignments. In this workplace stalemate, the question remains, who will break the cycle?